Okay, so we've all seen AI do some pretty wild things, right? Writing your emails, creating incredible art out of thin air. But that's just the start. The next real leap for AI isn't just about creating more stuff, it's about thinking. We are right on the edge of an AI that can actually reason.
But that brings up a question I bet you've asked yourself a million times. How can an AI sound like a total genius 1 minute, and then the next just make up something completely wildly illogical? You know what I'm talking about, the dreaded AI hallucination. You ask it for a simple fact, then it just invents a person who never existed. It's a huge, huge problem, and it's exactly what this next wave of AI is built to fix.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what's going on. We'll start with what today's AI can't do, then we'll look at the new architecture that lets it think. We'll cover how it learns to do this, what it unlocks for AI agents, and finally, why this whole thing is really about building a new kind of trust.
All right, let's dive in. First up, we need to talk about getting beyond simple pattern recognition, because honestly, that's the core limitation of most of the AI we use every single day.
Think of it this way. A traditional language model is like a superpowered parrot. It's read the entire internet, so it's amazing at predicting the next most likely word in a sentence. But a reasoning model, that's different. It uses what's called logical inference. It's trying to be more of a detective, figuring out the underlying structure and relationships in a problem, not just mimicking patterns it's seen before.
And this table here really lays out the whole shift perfectly. On one side, you've got your traditional models, pattern recognition, direct answers, good for Q&A and summarizing. But on the other side, these new reasoning models are playing a totally different game. Their method is all about multi-step reasoning. Their output isn't a quick guess. It's a chain of thought that analyzes all the steps. It's a fundamental change that makes them absolutely killer for tough stuff like coding, complex math, and big, important decisions.
Which brings us to the nuts and bolts of it all. How in the world does this new kind of AI actually think? Well, the secret sauce is a process that actually looks a lot like how we solve hard problems.
It's called chain of thought, or COT for short, and it's pretty brilliant. Instead of just blurting out an answer, the AI is forced to show its work. It has to spell out, step by step, the logic it's using to get from the question to the final conclusion. You know, it's the difference between a kid just writing 42 on a math test versus them showing you every single calculation. You can actually see how they got there. And this breaks it down perfectly. First, the AI deconstructs the problem. Breaks it into smaller, manageable chunks. Then it maps out a logical path to the solution. And here's the crucial part. It verifies each step as it goes. Only after all that does it put it all together for the final answer. It's this structured, methodical approach that separates real reasoning from just smart guessing.
And the big takeaway here, the result of all this? It's a massive, massive increase in accuracy, and a huge drop in those infuriating AI hallucinations. Because the AI is checking its own work, it's way less likely to just make stuff up.
But here's the thing, this incredible ability to reason doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to be taught. And that happens through a really specific, really clever type of training.
This is where something called reinforcement learning, or RL, comes into play. You can basically think of it as a personal tutor for the AI. During training, the AI gets feedback. And here's the key part. There's a reward system that specifically gives it a gold star for longer, more detailed, and more accurate chains of thought. It is literally being rewarded for thinking logically and showing its work.
The results of this kind of training are just transformative. This is what pushes the AI's performance through the roof in really logical areas like math and coding. It's what allows the AI to self-reflect and check its own work. And maybe most importantly, this is what scales an AI's ability to become a reliable, trustworthy agent.
So, now let's see how this all connects to something even bigger. This whole reasoning thing isn't just about getting better answers, it's about unlocking true AI autonomy. It's about moving from a simple assistant to a genuine agent.
And believe me, there is a world of difference between those two. A virtual assistant is reactive. You give it a command, it does it. Hey, set a timer. An AI agent is proactive. You give it a goal, and it will figure out the plan, execute the steps, and adapt along the way, all on its own, to get that goal accomplished.
Reasoning is the engine that makes this autonomy possible. It's what lets an agent look at a huge, complex goal, break it down into logical steps, and then actually do them. It can even manage a whole team of other specialized AIs to get a project done. This is where AI stops looking like a fancy calculator and starts looking a lot more like a coworker.
Okay, but giving an AI that much power, well, that takes an incredible amount of trust. And this brings us to the real bottom line.
especially for businesses. It all comes down to that one word, trust. Because without it, you're never going to see this stuff used in industries where the stakes are really, really high.
So, just ask yourself this for a second. Where would a random AI mistake be completely, totally unacceptable? I'm sure a few things jump right into your head. We're talking about jobs where a little error isn't just an inconvenience, it could have serious real-world consequences.
And these are the exact spots, these no-trust zones, where we're starting to see reasoning models put to work. In finance, for things like loan approvals and compliance. In healthcare, for analyzing incredibly complex medical histories to help suggest treatment plans. Or in the legal world, sifting through mountains of documents to find the one relevant piece of case law. These are all jobs where you absolutely have to be able to trust the result. Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to this simple equation. Explainability equals trust. Since you can actually see the AI's chain of thought, a human expert can follow its logic and double-check its conclusions. It's not a black box anymore. You can finally pop the hood and see exactly how the engine is working.
And this quote just captures the scale of this change perfectly. With reasoning, you can actually verify. AI agents stop being just reactive tools. They become a goal-driven, digital workforce that can handle complex, high-stakes problems all on their own.
Which leaves us with one last big, thought-provoking question. We're moving past just using AI as a simple tool. We're walking into a world where our teams could have artificial members that don't just do tasks, but can genuinely reason through complex problems right alongside us. So what happens then? What does that future really look like?